Hi, welcome to 7 Facts. You are watching episode 19 of the US series. In this series, we cover 7 little known facts about all of the states and territories of the United States, so feel free to check out the entire playlist if you're interested. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. There are hundreds of videos up already, with more to come, so it'll be worth it. Today, we'll talk about a state that's not as popular as the others, but it's just as interesting: Maine. Let's begin. Settled by Europeans in the 17th century, Maine was officially declared a state in 1820 after it voted to secede from Massachusetts, thus becoming America's 23rd state. This small land was much fought over by the French, English, and Allied natives during the 17th and early 18th century. During this period, the two sides conducted raids against each other and even took captives for ransom. This situation was a little bit odd, as Maine has a very chilly climate and the environment is not exactly settler-friendly. So you would imagine that under such conditions, European colonists would try to cooperate with each other to increase their chances of survival. But obviously, this didn't really happen, as our more violent and possessive instincts were a lot more prominent. As I said, Maine is a cold state, blanketed by thick forests, so naturally, this is the last place you would expect to find a desert. But a desert in Maine you will certainly find. The 160,000 square meter desert of Maine lies outside the town of Freeport and is now a popular tourist attraction. However, what should really get your attention is that this is a man-made desert. It originally developed as a result of overfarming. One single family managed to turn their land into sandy dunes because they pretty much did everything wrong. They failed to rotate their crops, then started to heavily clear the land of trees, and then their sheep wreaked havoc by overgrazing. Maine is one of America's least densely populated states, especially on the East Coast. Instead of lots of people, you will most likely encounter lots and lots of trees. Approximately 89% of the state is covered by forests and timberland, so they don't call it the pine tree state for no reason. In fact, no other state comes close to this figure. In the forested areas of the interior lies much uninhabited land, some of which doesn't even have formal political organization into local units. The Northwest Aroostook Unorganized Territory in the north, for example, has an area of 6,910 square kilometers and a population of 10. Or 1 person for every 690 square kilometers. Maine has a number of quirky museums, some of them being quite odd. One of them is the Telephone Museum in Ellsworth. Okay, this isn't really an art place, but rather a fascinating one if you're into old technology. The museum exhibits working equipment functioning as it did years ago: switches, manuals, switchboards, telephones, tools, schematics, and photographs. A slightly more quirky place is the Maine Coast Sardine History Museum in Jonesport. This one is currently closed, but it was until recently a museum dedicated to the sardine industry. With a wide array of colorful tints, labels, vintage photos, and salvaged equipment, this was a place that honored Maine's long history with this little fish. The Umbrella Cover Museum in Peaks Island is, well, just what it sounds like. A place that pays tribute to umbrella covers. Over 1,300 covers from over 60 countries have been gathered here, so technically there is a lot to see. But the coolest museum of all is the International Cryptozoology Museum in Portland. This is a museum dedicated to hidden or unknown animals like the Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the Loch Ness Monster. As I said, this place is just simply too cool to miss. Maine is known as the birthplace of Prohibition. The state was the first to ban the sale and production of alcohol in 1851. Portland's mayor, a Quaker named Neil Dow, nicknamed the Father of Prohibition, was largely responsible for this ban. He believed so much that alcohol was the source of pretty much all things bad in the world that when in 1855 his opponents rioted in the Portland Rum Riot, he actually ordered the state militia to fire on the crowd rather than yield before their demands. His actions had some connection to the prohibition of the 1920s and 30s, as this nationwide ban was also heavily promoted by pietistic religious leaders. Maine is part of the region that was first discovered by Europeans. And no, Columbus had nothing to do with it. No, it was the Vikings. The Norse were the first to discover America, and it happened around 1000 AD. They attempted to settle the area but eventually failed. European contact with Maine started around 1200 AD when the Norwegians interacted with the natives, most likely through trade. The strongest evidence of this happening is the Maine penny, a 10th century Viking coin found in Maine in 1954. Due to the rugged terrain, harsh climate and dense forests, other Europeans failed to settle Maine for a very long time. The first to settle were the French in 1604, but as Maine entered the 18th century, only half a dozen settlements had survived. The first capital city of Maine was Portland. It was established as the village of Casco in 1632, thus making it one of the oldest cities in the US. Today, Portland is the state's largest city with a population of just 67,000 people. But the actual capital of Maine is Augusta. This is an even older city, having been established in 1629 as Cushnock, in an area that was a hotbed of Native American hostilities towards European settlements. The city survived those times, and although less than 19,000 people live here today, it was chosen as Maine's capital city. So there you have it. These were 7 facts about Maine. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget to leave your thoughts downstairs in the comment section. If you would like to support this channel even more, there is a Patreon page where you can offer your pledge. Click on the icon now or find the link in the description. I hope to see you next time. Bye.